Welcome to the show, Michael Mellamphy. How's it going?
Very good, Chris. Thanks very much for having me, and it's a pleasure to be on here with you.
So you played the part of Sean MacGuire in Red Dead Redemption 2. What are your memories of being involved?
Well, it was a bit of a roller coaster because I didn't quite know what I was getting into when I got the job, which was a great, wonderful experience. And I worked on it for the most part for about 3 and a bit years. On some occasions, I'd be in quite a bit over the course of a month, and then I wouldn't hear from them for maybe a month or two. Then I'd be back in for another couple of scenes. So it was very kind of sporadic. It was great because I was able to do other things as well. I owned a pub at the time here in New York on the Upper East Side. So I was able to kind of juggle being Sean MacGuire by day and running an Irish pub by night. So that was kind of a lot of what was going on. Yeah, it was just a wonderful experience from start to finish. The greatest kind of experience I think I had throughout the filming and the making of the game was just meeting all these other wonderful actors and artists that were involved in creating the game. And of course, all the people behind the scenes as well. You know, Rockstar, they don't mess around when it comes to getting really good talent. And it was just a great experience meeting so many people. And I've actually still had quite a few friendships since then, which has been a real kind of plus and treasure.
Yeah. And Sean MacGuire, your character, was quite a humorous character, wasn't he?
He was, yeah. I think the writers did a really great job in kind of getting to the bone of that kind of funny kind of Irish humor and wit. And they always say, Americans play the heroes really well, British actors play the villains really well, and the Irish actors play the clowns and the comedians quite well. So I think they may have followed a bit of that formula throughout while they were making it. And yeah, Sean got quite a lot of funny lines and some quite funny scenes as well. And I do think, uh, the fact that he died and was killed so early on, it kind of marked a huge turning point in the game. I think for a lot of people who I've spoken to who've played the game and loved the game, they kind of considered Sean's passing to be a moment where like the game kind of suddenly changed and it became a lot more intense, became much more kind of a personal and involved kind of a journey.
This don't feel right. Now it don't feel right. I could have told you that.
Yeah, I think it became more dark from that moment on, really.
It certainly seemed that way. Yeah, that was for me, that was the first kind of point in the game where you started to think, oh, there's something kind of sinister going on here. It's not just a typical kind of game running around kind of completing missions. There's something sinister going on here in the story. And certainly, yeah, when Sean passed, yeah, a lot of the lightheartedness went out the window with him.
It did, yeah. And I did like that mission where you go to Braithwaite Manor, and he's a big part in that. That's very funny.
That's a lot of fun. I love that. That was one of the earliest scenes that I actually shot along with Roger, where we were burning down the tobacco fields. And again, as somebody who I wouldn't have been a huge gamer. I mean, I love video games. I played video games all my life, but I wouldn't have been a huge kind of modern day gamer. So I didn't quite understand, like, what the hell am I doing? Like, I'm setting Molotov cocktails on fire and I'm running around the fields burning. How is this going to look? But when I eventually got to see the finished article, that one particular scene was just mind blowing, pardon the pun. I absolutely loved it. And even leading up to that, like, the scenes where we were in the manor with Mrs. Braithwaite and all, and some of Sean's lines, like, shoving the silver spoon up her arse and putting it out her nose or whatever it was. They still make me laugh.
You was quiet in there. Took everything I had. That son of hers. I'll shove that silver spoon down his throat and pull it clean out of his arse. The smug fucker. Okay.
And you mentioned Rockstar and being involved in it. What's that process like for people who don't know?
It was very professional. I mean, like I said, these guys they're like the Premier League when it comes to the world of what they do, creating. I wouldn't even call them video games; they're like works of art. They influence so many people all around the world. But working with them was just tremendous. They were very easy to work with. They made it really, really comfortable for the actors. Every day you'd go in, they'd have like food laid out for you and everything else. It was very comfortable. It was a very, very professional setup. I've been involved in lots and lots of different mediums, whether it's theatre, whether it's film, television. But this was definitely one of those. It kind of felt the closest thing you'd get to working in Hollywood. They were great, wonderful company. They couldn't do enough for their talent, and yeah, look forward to hopefully working with them again. You know.
Yeah, hopefully. And another scene I remember of yours, it was a bonus mission where you go and rob a homestead with Arthur. That was quite a good one.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. It was a lot of fun, and of course working with Roger on all these things because Roger Clark was. I mean, he was in there every day for years and years and years.
Good work. Hey, what about my car? I found a place, didn't I?
All right, here. But don't forget to give the camp its share. Supplies don't appear by magic, you know.
All right, don't need to lecture again. I'll see you back at camp.
So that was another thing. Anytime I got a chance to work with Roger directly, it was great because you knew you were working with someone who just knew what they were up to. Anytime you walked on set with him, he just had a calmness about him because he was at it for so long, and he was so kind of self-assured as Arthur. And I think every title needs a leader, and Roger certainly stepped into those big shoes and filled them. Like he was the leader of the gang when it came to this, and just his professionalism and just the fun and what he brought to the process rubbed off on everyone. And funny thing, I actually knew Roger before.
Okay.
Because he worked in a restaurant down the street from the pub that I owned, and he would come by. We would read plays together upstairs on the second floor. He auditioned for a play I was producing. I think the same year he got Red Dead, and when we offered him the part in this little play at a small theatre on the west side here of Manhattan, he had to turn us down because he had this other gig that he wasn't allowed to talk about. So, when I walked in, it was fun because we already had a relationship.
That's great. And
Yeah.
it's interesting that a lot of the cast have, like everyday lives, don't they? Everyday jobs. I spoke to the actor who plays John Marston.
Oh,
And
Rob. Yeah, Rob Wiedoff. Yeah.
and he's a builder, isn't he?
He is.
Yeah.
Oh, Rob's a country boy, Rob's he likes his life out there in Indiana on the farm. He's a sweetheart, and he's a hard-working guy. He gets up, he goes to work every day, he provides for his family. He is like almost a human personification of John Marston, all grown up.
Yeah.
Taking care of the family, taking care of the kids. But yeah, we're not. There's very few of us have got. Well, I shouldn't say that because quite a few of the actors have done quite a few great things before this and since then. Red Dead has certainly helped us all, I think, in our careers. But yeah, we're all actors, no matter who you're talking to, we're all just ordinary people working, doing our jobs. We all have our hopes and dreams. We all have our little side missions and our private lives, which are pretty much the same as everyone else's.
Yeah. And what's great also doing these interviews is that most of the actors sound like the characters. And I was thinking maybe the voices might be put on a bit, but not many so far, to be honest.
Yeah, not many. Yeah, well, Rob certainly has that kind of. You can hear John Marston in there with Rob for sure, and then Arthur has got that kind of thing back here. And it's you can hear a little bit of the Irish in Roger's accent. For me, I was born in Dublin, but I grew up in Cork, so my Cork accent is kind of stronger. But when I first read the first script that I got of Sean, and I've said this to people before, it just made sense that he was kind of like a bit of a bowsy from Dublin, you know what I mean? That's kind of just what kind of started to happen.
Yeah.
And he's one of these guys that kind of walks around like a pigeon, and he just was a dub. And a funny story on that, there was a mission where I'm sneaking Arthur into the manor before we burn it down. And I'm talking to some guy and I'm telling him about how I come from Donegal. And I'm like, Sean's not from Donegal. That's, and I've been pulled up on that. Like quite a few Irish people are like, he says he's from Donegal, but he's not. And of course, Sean's fibbing. He's a spoofer. He uses his wit to kind of get in places. So yeah, he's not from Donegal. He's definitely from Dublin.
How you getting on? Good. Nearly got these things ready.
Okay.
And have you met any of the fans of the game?
Yeah, I've actually gone to quite a few events, quite a few Comic-Con events. I've done two in Ireland. So it's always great to go home to Ireland. I did Dublin Comic-Con a couple of years ago. And I just did Cork Comic-Con in my home city last October with Roger. So I got to go home and meet like local fans of the game, all from Cork and different parts of Ireland. And the great thing about doing those ones at home is we get quite a few people from the UK coming over as well. So yeah, like the UK fans are just delightful. I've met quite a few. And also the other great thing about this game is it encourages people to create their own podcasts, to create their own blogs, to create their own fan fiction. I've had so many fans send me their artwork. You know, I'm so inspired when I see fans like out there on Instagram and social media doing their own kind of playthroughs and streams. It's a real gift. You know, sometimes I do a lot of theater and I love theater, but when the show's over, it's over. That's it. This has kind of been the Easter egg that keeps on giving. I can't believe it's almost 8 years, and we seem to be getting more and more fans along the way. Yeah, and I love it. I've been to some events here in the United States as well. I live in New York. I've been to a couple of events in Arizona and South Dakota, and we've had fans traveling from like places like Western Australia and Hong Kong where they fly for like days to come and hang out with us knuckleheads. You know, it's very humbling. But the fans, like I said earlier about meeting all these wonderful artists that we worked with and we've created friendships, one of the bigger, pleasant, lovely things about being involved in this game has been meeting so many people in our community and just getting to connect with them and forming friendships with them as well, which is really, really great, you know?
Yeah. Is there a line that people like you to say when you go to one of these events?
Any one line? There isn't really. Generally, people like to kind of leave it up to me to sign when I sign something for them, any line that I want. I mean, I love Sean's first line where he's like, there you are, Arthur. You know, you're some man, Arthur Morgan, the kind of young whippersnapper can really look up to. I love that line because immediately it just signals to you who this fecker is.
Yeah.
You know, he's in your face. He's a bit of a bowsy. And he does that lovely thing that Irish and British people love to do that they don't quite get here in America, where we like to really kind of be sarcastic with each other and, you know, I think, what's the word I'm looking for? In America, they say break each other's balls, you know, or kind of, you know, rag on each other as a sign of affection, as a sign of friendship, you know, and I love that. You can give me any of the lines when Sean is in the tent with Karen. I think they're all hilarious. That was the scene in particular that all my cousins and family members loved looking at and thought was absolutely hilarious. You know, your claim to fame is you ended up having a lovemaking scene in a video game in a tent. You know? Very quick one too, I might add.
Where are you going?
We're done, ain't we?
Well, you certainly are, darling. Oh. What are you doing there, you old creep?
And with your character, it is interesting. Some people think maybe the gang wouldn't have split up, or maybe he would have sided with Arthur. It's hard to know, isn't it? But what do you think?
It's hard to know. I've always maintained that Sean is like a little brother to Arthur. I think Sean kind of looks up to Arthur. I mean, he rescued him, you know. There's a debt repaid right there. I think Sean, personally, I feel Sean would have been definitely on Arthur's side. The actor who plays Dutch van der Linde, Benjamin Byron Davis, is a brilliant, brilliant actor and another really dear friend. He has said in some Comic-Cons at interviews, he feels that if Sean had survived, he kind of always feels that Sean and Lenny would have been the natural kind of heirs or leaders of the gang if it went in a more positive direction eventually. I have seen a video on YouTube about Sean being the original rat. And I have to say, it's a terrific video. Whoever made it went to great lengths to do a lot of editing and to really focus on some of the stuff that Sean says and does. I personally disagree, but I love the video, and he makes a very compelling and interesting case for that. So I would definitely encourage people to go online and check out that video. If for nothing else, you get to see at least another 30 or 40 minutes of Sean doing his thing, you know?
Well, it is interesting, isn't it? All the theories that obviously because it's such a big popular thing that.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the sign of great artwork, no matter what medium you're working in, is if art can compel people to have their own opinions and stand by them, whether it's a painting, whether it's sculpture, whether it's a great movie. I mean, we're still debating, like, to this day, like, you know, the great movies, you know, what's the best and all the rest of it. And people have their favorites and people have their theories about things. People love to talk about music because it creates conversation. We're still talking about the fact that that goal in 1966 that England scored in the World Cup final never crossed the
Did
line.
it cross the line? Yeah.
It didn't cross the line. I mean, it's clear as day. We don't need VAR, but we're still talking about it. So, you know, great moments in history, great moments in time, compel people to have opinions and debate one another. And I think certainly that's true of Red Dead. Like, you know, it's like I said, it's 8 years now, and people are still finding new things. People still want to talk about it. People still want to offer you their theories. People still want to dress up like the characters and come to events and all. So that's the mark of great art, is the stuff that people still talk about after many years, you know.
And there's something about that Wild West era, isn't there? And it's sort of being transported to that era and living in it, really.
Yeah, I think, you know, I've only come back to gaming just recently. I've been quite busy the last couple of years with some other happenings in my career. And I've just started kind of coming back to gaming as a way to unwind, as a way to relax. And I found myself going back to Red Dead just to kind of, I guess, to kind of escape a lot of the madness that we're bombarded with every single day by the news. And I think, again, that's another mark of great art, like when people can kind of find solace and peace in storytelling. And I think that's another wonderful thing about Red Dead, you know. I love it. I love going back into the world, and it sucks when you go back to it after a long time of being out of it, where, you know, you're trying to get on your horse and you end up punching it instead, and you end up shooting people by accident. But you know, once you get kind of used to it again, it becomes a great way to unwind and relax. Yeah.
Yeah, and you mentioned the story. For me, that's the best thing about it, to be honest. That's why I keep coming back to it and playing it, because it's for the story. It's such a great story.
It's mind-boggling to me just how many different stories there are in there. You know, like you can be just walking there, riding your horse in the countryside, and you just happen to interact with an NPC, and all of a sudden you're doing something completely different to what you were expecting. You know, and again, that's the beauty of Rockstar. Like, they are storytellers at their heart, and that's I love it. You're right. It's and also just the fact that you get to kind of dictate the story.
Yeah.
It makes it personal, which is, I've often compared this particular game and working on it much more closely to theater than as opposed to films and television, because there is that personal connection with the characters. You know, you have an interaction with the characters, you're communing with the characters the same way you would be when you're in a live event, when there's somebody up there on a stage. You're kind of looking at it from your own personal perspective and point of view. That although I do know great television and filmmaking can transport you there, but I still think there's always there's much more of a fourth wall. You know, and I think with this game, it's much more accessible to find that kind of personal touch.
Yeah, as you say, you can just talk to anybody, and I have to help everybody when I play it. You know, if an old lady is not broken down, her horse has gone lame, I have to help her out after. You know, it's quite funny, but it really adds.
I did a stream for the first time a few weeks ago, just for a bit of crack. I put it up on Twitch, and there was people tuning in, and I was literally asking people, like, what do I do? They're telling me your horse is about to collapse because you haven't fed him in days. I'm like, well, I've forgotten how to do that. What do I do? What do I press? It's kind of neat, you know. You get a community of people helping you out.
Yeah, it's very involved, isn't it? You need a lot of time there. That's all I'll say. I
Yeah,
think I played it before the lockdown, but I played it a lot during the lockdown, and
yeah.
I've managed to
Certainly,
get right.
I've heard from a lot of people it kind of helped them through lockdown quite a bit. You know, yeah, you do need a bit of time. I get people reaching out to me, asking asking for like cameos. I do quite a few cameos as Sean, and I get people like, reaching out, telling me things like, I'm graduating from high school this year and I've logged like 2,000 hours on Red Dead. And I'm thinking, how are you graduating from high school if you're spending all your time playing a fucking video game, man? But people figure it out, I guess.
Mine's a month of my life, which is crazy, isn't it? I've never spent that much amount of time on a video
Wild.
game, but
Yeah,
shows how great it is.
yeah, it does. It's funny because it's probably the first video game that I've ever played where, because I grew up in the 80s and the 90s, and my video games were like, you had to beat a level, you had to figure out how to beat the level. So it wasn't so much kind of story led where you're kind of in the midst of a story and you're kind of walking along throughout it. It's like games where you're very quick, have to collect as many coins or rings as possible, and eventually by just playing it over and over, you beat the level and move on. So that's why this is something that's kind of really, really different for me, is just being involved in this. I've never completed the game. I mean, I've had it since 2018. I've never finished it. I found myself just going off, getting drunk, going fishing, hunting, wandering around the place, breaking into people's houses. I find myself just kind of going like, let's see what happens here, as opposed to actually doing the missions.
Yeah. No, that's the beauty of it, isn't it? You've got the missions, but you've also got all the other stuff, as you mentioned. Yeah.
Yeah, so much. It's a crazy world. Crazy world. Yeah.
And what are some of your favourite scenes, as Sean?
Some of my favorites. I love the scene where he gets rescued.
You're a great man, Arthur Morgan. The kind of young whippersnapper can really admire.
Oh, shut up.
And you bring him back to the camp, and they're all having a party. The first time I played through, I didn't realize that if the first time I played it and when I rescued Sean, I went off and went fishing and hunting and got back to camp the next day, and everybody was hungover. And I realized, oh no, I missed the party. And I had spent about 6 months doing scenes where we were singing songs and having the shenanigans in the tent with Karen Jones and having this big mad party after I was rescued, and I completely missed my own fucking party. So I had to go back and rescue Sean again just to go back to the camp and have the whole party scene. So that was something that I really, really appreciated. I love going up to Craze Run, which is way up north in the map. It's up where it gets really, really cold. And I loved that because the actor who played Uncle initially was a beautiful actor called John Cray, who was a friend, and unfortunately he passed away during the making of the game. And so I remember playing the game once and seeing on the map Craze Run, and I thought, wow, that was such a lovely gesture from the creators of the game to memorialize John in this way.
Yeah.
And so I love kind of going up there, and I've found myself just often getting on the horse and riding up there and just hanging out and checking out all the wonderful wildlife that exists up there. When you see Uncle in the campfire scenes when they're all singing around the campfire and stuff, he was the one who was playing the squeeze box. That was John. Yeah, and then I ended up bringing him home when I had a Mini Cooper at the time, and I would give people a ride home sometimes after shooting. And I dropped him off at his apartment, and then we got the news about a month later. Unfortunately, it's sad. Yeah, but he was a great guy to work with. I did a play with him years ago before as well, and great guy to work with. Yeah,
that's good to hear. And it's taken a morbid turn, but
sorry about that.
That's all right. You can find your character's grave as well. You haven't done that yet, have you?
I haven't done that. Yeah, I don't know where the hell it is. I don't know. Kind of again in turn with the maudlin, morbid theme. Don't know if I want to find his grave, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I'm happy enough just to go back to before it all happened and hang out with Sean every now and then.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean. I haven't found them all myself. I've found a few of them, but they're not. It's clever because they're not easy to find. You know, they
Yeah,
really make it difficult for you to find these graves.
yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, it's one of these things when you come across them, you're like, oh wow, there you go. And again, that's a wonderful thing about the people who created this game, or Rockstar, the level of thought that goes into that, and what that's going to do to the person playing the game when they come across a grave like this. You know, that's going to create a feeling in the person who's actually playing. You know what I mean? That again adds this other layer of just how connected people are to the story and the characters that are involved.
Definitely. Well, it's been great to speak to you, Michael.
You too, Chris, man. Thank you so much. I can't wait to hear the show. Please let me know when it's coming out. I'll be desperately dying to tune in to listen to it.
Will do, yeah.
And yeah, I just want to send a massive thank you to all of the brilliant, wonderful Red Dead Redemption fans across the United Kingdom. I hope I get to come over at some point to a Comic-Con in the UK and meet as many as possible. But thanks for all the support you guys give us, and thank you for your wonderful creativity and for continuing to spread the gospel of Red Dead Redemption 2.
That's great. Thanks a lot, Michael.
Appreciate it, Chris. Have a great day, all right?
You too. Thank you.